Welcome back to Forgotten Working Class Podcast. I'm your host, John. Today we have Donnie with us. Donnie, you're a lineman, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I just turned 44, married with 4 kids. I've been a lineman now for 6 years. Been with Tampa Electric for 12.
Okay.
Born and raised in Florida.
So,
So,
all right. So you've been a lineman, you said, for 4 years?
6 years.
6 years. 6 years. My
Yep.
bad.
Yeah.
What'd you do before that?
Well, right out of high school, I got hired with a company called General Dynamics. I was a sub doing fiber optics on Air Force bases, pulling in, doing the construction and everything. And they lost that contract, so I went back to doing construction. My dad did construction his whole life. Um, he then started a lawn business when I was a kid, so I pretty much had hands-on labor, intensive stuff since I was a kid. My dad was a hard worker, but I also rode bulls professionally and fought bulls to make extra money on the side. So,
Damn.
yeah,
Damn. That's a hell of a background.
I was an adrenaline junkie, still am, just
Yeah.
kind of. So
So when you say fight bulls,
I was a rodeo clown and did freestyle bullfighting.
damn.
Yeah,
That's pretty wild. That's some adrenaline right there.
yeah, I love it, man. Best
That's
sport in the world.
awesome. So you said your dad was blue collar.
Yeah,
So you come from a blue collar family.
yeah, ranch and blue collar family. When I was born, he started construction, but he worked on Starkey's Ranch in Pasco County, which unfortunately is now a subdivision. But I grew up, doing cowboy stuff, ranching, working with my hands pretty much my whole life. I knew how to read a measuring tape by the time I was 8 with no problem. So,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, because that's on our shirts. Because we do have an apparel company, and our shirts we do have a blue collar blood type. Because if you don't have a blue collar family or you ain't never done blue collar, it, it's not in your blood. You're not going to cut it in this world.
right.
I mean,
And
the
it's a
blue collar industry is for those who are. I mean, you have to have it in your blood, and you have to be passionate about it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
you started as a lineman. Now you've done it for
Right.
the last 6 years. How do you like that?
I love it. It takes a toll on the body, which with the bull riding and stuff. I'm beat up, banged up. I've already had one shoulder surgery. That actually happened at work when I was an apprentice. I separated my shoulder and tore some stuff, but I love it, man. There's nothing like it in the world, especially in the middle of the night when you get people's lights back on. They come out and they're like, "Oh, thank you." Which there's also the opposite side of that. We're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, hurry up, get my lights back on."
How do you like working in the Florida weather? Because I mean, by 3 o'clock that rain is coming hard.
Right. Usually, I like you know Florida's great. I love Florida. Like I said, I was born and raised here. Um, but I would love to find somewhere that's 55 degrees in the morning and 70 during the day, all day long, all year round. I'm not
Perfect. Yes.
but yeah, storms. It's just part of the job too. So you see them storms popping up. They're probably going to hold a crew. I work for a utility, so it's not like the contract world where you get to go home at the end of the day, if you're like working on a job or whatever. So we get called out all the time, 24/7. We get called out unless we're on vacation. That's about it. But which this year it hasn't been near as bad as it has the past couple of years. The
Yeah.
storms, we were in a drought there for a little bit. So,
So
but
when big storms come in, do you get excited? Because I've talked to a couple other linemen, and they've said when the big storms come in, it usually means more money, and they get excited.
right. And so we had that storm come through this year that hit us. It was more of a rainmaker than anything. But a couple years ago when Ian come through, which we just did our new contract with the union because we're union. The first we worked 16-hour days, Well, the first 8 was straight time, and the other 8 was time and a half. Well, now with the new contract, it's time and a half all day. So yeah, I'm definitely excited now.
Oh, yeah, damn,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Like that's
I,
for you guys out there killing it, especially during them hurricanes. Which, if nobody knows, if you don't live in a state that gets hurricanes,
right.
they can
Yeah,
turn very bad very quickly. And to be out there working on those lines during a storm, right after, whatever it is, I mean, it's very dangerous. So
right.
just to get that time and a half all day, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It definitely helps. So I love it though. It's a great job. I encourage people all the time. I get people that message me on TikTok or and I'm like, hey, they're like, I'm thinking about getting in the trade. And I'm like, definitely do it. It's well worth it.
Yeah, that's what I tell everybody. I mean, if you're gonna get in the trades, do it
Right.
100%. But once again, you got to be cut out for it.
Absolutely.
Don't just think you're gonna jump in the trades and it's gonna work for you.
I hear you. So like, and you can tell normally, because when you try out for apprentice here where I work, it's like a mini boot camp. They put you through it, climbing. You got to dig trenches. You got to take written tests and pass them, and so if you can't cut it, like the climbing part, it's pretty rough. You'll climb for hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe more, up and down, and then even
Yeah,
then you go to class every 6 months for 2 weeks. You still have to pass those classes, and they climb you then until you get to a certain step, and then they start getting a little more technical. But yeah, I just think it's the best job in the world. And to be honest with you, I was terrified of electricity when I started working here as a utility worker, and they let me on the line crews and work with them, and I fell in love with it right away. I knew what I wanted to do.
so do you still have to do tests every 6 months?
No, no.
No.
Once
So
you
once you
top
clear
out,
your apprenticeship,
it's a
you're
four and
good.
a half year apprenticeship. Every 6 months you go to class, and then once you hit that last year, it's a year from your last class, and then you'll test out for journeyman. You'll take a written test, and you have to pass that, and then you go out and evaluate, and you have supervisors, union stewards, linemen watch you, and they evaluate you, and then they say if you passed or not.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask. I mean, that's a you get in the business, and then every 6 months you still got to do a test.
No. I'm glad too, because it's kind of
Yeah.
nervous. I went in. I got hired on when I was 32, and then I started my apprenticeship a year later, and I had a family, and you're like, I cannot fail this. I cannot fail this. I got to
Yeah.
make it. So, a little bit of stress added factor there, a little bit of nerves and everything every time you went to class. But once you pass that journeyman test and they hand your certificate, it's all smooth sailing from there, except for the hard work.
How was your apprenticeship
It
when
was
you did
good.
it? What was your experience?
It was good. The guys that I come up under, there was a mixture of, you know, I mean, let me put it like this. You had your extreme guys that were really hardworking and really motivated and really determined and expected the same from you. And then you had the guys that were the same, but a little more even kill, just kind of laid back.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, don't do it that way. I come up, the yard that I come up at was one of the toughest yards at the time. Like nobody wanted to be there, but it worked out to my benefit, in my opinion, because I learned a lot, and not saying that other yards, here at Tampa Electric are better or worse, but um, I'm kind of prejudiced towards Eastern where I did my apprenticeship. It's one of those pride things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now I've seen on your TikTok that you have your own apprentice, right?
Well, kind
Or
of. Yeah.
I've seen a couple different videos with your apprentices.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Kinda. So we have apprentices at our yard, and they'll rotate them through crews. And the way that we work here, as far as we're seniority based, and the yard that I'm at now, which is closest to my house, um, we pick crews. Well, I'm the junior man in the yard, so I get stuck with whatever's left, and I'm on underground. And underground's not bad. It is what it is, but they rotate the apprentices. But usually the junior apprentices will stay on underground the most until they go hot with a lineman, and then they'll start rotating them through the overhead crews. But I pretty much have the same one or two guys with us most of the time.
So what's the difference besides, one's above ground, one's underground? What's the difference between all that?
So overhead, like if wire comes down, it's a lot faster and easier to pick wire up and get your power back on. Underground, if something gets damaged, it takes a little
Yeah.
bit longer. Underground is like here in Florida with the hurricanes, it's a little more reliable, but people don't realize it takes overhead to feed underground. And now they're doing a storm hardening system right now here. They call it the SPP project, and it's helped. I'm underground now at my house. I used to be overhead wire, and a tree would come down every time a storm come through and take my power out. But now, you know, underground I would say is a little more reliable. But if you have a storm come in Tampa Bay over there and floods everything, it's like, it's just one of them things.
Yeah.
I prefer overhead, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I've noticed that they're doing a lot more underground, especially
Right.
around us.
Yeah, all
That
these
and
new.
there's
That's where I'm at right now. I'm actually in a subdivision that they're building here in Florida. Shocker, right?
yeah. Just another development.
Right. I know.
I've noticed that and that they're doing they've been swapping out the poles. So they've
Yeah.
been putting the concrete ones in.
Right.
They've got a
Yeah.
lot done around here, but I've seen that they're still, swapping them out here and there.
Yeah. And then, those are more sturdy poles, and
Yeah.
they off when a storm comes through and stuff like that. But it's kind of crazy because when Ian come through a couple years ago, some of the older poles were still standing, and some of the newer poles were the ones that were broke off. Just not built as strong. And I don't know. I don't know much about the old style poles. Like some of these old timers I work with. Like the average years of service at my yard is 30 plus. I'm the junior guy by a long shot. A lot of
Yeah.
experience yard than I'm at.
So what made you want to get into this line of work?
So I got hired in as a utility worker, a flagger. I'd help make up material, flag traffic, help dig the pole holes and stuff, and get everything ready. And we were doing some Saturday work one time, and they had to climb a pole in the rear, and we took an easement machine back there, a rear lot machine, back lot machine, whatever they call it at other companies and other areas. And I'm watching these guys climb these poles, and I'm like, man, I'm kind of scared of heights and electricity, but I need to stop being a sissy because I used to ride bulls. I could do this right here. I could make this work. And one of the guys I was working with, a lineman, asked me if I wanted to put his hooks on and climb up a couple feet and see what it felt like. And I was like, no, man, I'm good. He's like, well, what do you plan on doing here at this company then? Being a DDT, an engineer, pretty much being a sissy. Well, what are you doing out here with us? And I'm like, all right, give me those things. So I climbed up a little bit and I was hooked after that. They let me flop a bucket over one time to clean it out. And I'm like, yeah, this is it for me right here. I called my wife that Saturday on the way home. I was like, I think I want to be a lineman. She's like, what? Thought you were scared of electricity. I was like, I'm terrified of it.
Yeah.
She's like, how's that going to work? I was like, I don't know. We're going to make it roll.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, electricity, definitely terrified of it.
Yeah. Did you do line work? I
I
was
did
doing
not.
your TikToks and looking at your website and stuff. So
Yeah, I was a miner. I was
minor.
a rock miner. I didn't do no electrical.
Right.
And hit with 4160 on top of the head.
That's crazy. Oh,
So you got
right,
what's that?
doing all right now though?
Yeah.
Good.
I got
Glad.
the scars and that's about it.
Yeah.
So you got 4 kids, you said.
Yeah, 2 stepdaughters and 2 of my own, which the stepdaughters, they're pretty much mine. I raised them since they were 4 and 2, and they're 21 and 18 now. So, yeah.
You got boys?
I got one,
Oh, 1 boy,
and
3 girls.
3 girls, and man, we catch it from all angles.
I got 1 13-year-old daughter, and I can't imagine having 3 of them.
Oh my gosh, man, it's mass chaos.
Yeah, we got 13-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. And my son, I mean, he's an animal.
Right?
They're wild, but to have 3 girls, I'm all right.
Yeah, so I'm a glutton for punishment.
So your son, do you want him to get in the trades?
He kinda, it's weird for me. So my dad, I got a scholarship in agricultural education, and my dad was all pumped up. He's like, "Don't be like me, don't be broken down old man," and I'm like, ah. So I went to college for like 2 semesters over here at a local community college, and the other part of the scholarship was for the University of Florida. And I called him one day. I was like, "Hey, I got a job offer to go with my buddy Dave. He knows Dave, and to go out to Las Vegas, and I'll be making 20 something dollars an hour and per diem and all this." And he's like, "What about your scholarship?" I was like, "Well, I can always go to school later." And I just took off. And he wasn't happy about that. But with my boy, he's very technically smart. Like, he'll fix my phone for me. And I teach him how to use a hammer, a shovel. He works with me. But I'm kind of up in the air on that. I'm thinking, the way the future's headed, if he's a smart little dude with technological stuff,
It's
maybe he,
crazy.
yeah,
that-
maybe he can get to that aspect and save his body. But
Yeah.
whatever he decides to do, really, I'm not going to push him to do anything that he don't want to do.
Yeah, the technology and how the kids today, they learn so much.
Right.
Our daughter, same way, she teaches us stuff on the computer. I mean, my son figures out stuff. He's 6 on the remotes and this and that. I'm like, we're kids. We didn't do any of that because we're outside. You're outside playing. You didn't
Absolutely.
have electronics.
Drank from a
So,
water
huh?
drank from a water hose because the door was
Yeah,
locked. Like, hey,
exactly. Yes, that was what you got. But yeah, to see the kids now, it's with the technology and the futures coming up. It's good for them.
absolutely, absolutely.
But that's a question I ask a lot of guys. What do you think about your kids going in the trades? And it's usually the same answer. It's close to the, I won't be mad if they do, but I'm
Right.
not going to push them to go into the trades because, yeah, I mean, the dangers that come with this, I don't think a lot of people understand how dangerous these jobs are really,
Right.
every day.
Absolutely.
So put your kids into it. It's iffy
Yeah.
for a parent. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we have, some apprentices. We were just joking around the other day, and I'm like, I'm looking around the room before our morning meeting, before we go out and stock trucks and go to the job, and I'm like, 9/11, 2001. There's 6 of them that wasn't even born yet. Like, one of them doesn't even need to shave yet. And I'm like, holy cow. I was like, they're babies.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's totally up to him. He likes it. He enjoys it. We come to the yard and get ice before his baseball games sometimes. He's like, "Oh, which one's your truck?" And I'm like, "That one over there," and just little things like that. But
Yeah, my son, same way. He likes to build things and tear it down and tools and dirt. So
right,
he's probably gonna
absolutely.
end up being blue collar.
Yeah,
No doubt about it.
nothing
Digging in
wrong
the
with it.
dirt. Nope. I'm all about it. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm glad they brought trades back into school down here in Florida. When I went, there was ag, which ag is still there, but we had a body shop at the high school where they worked on cars and stuff, and it was, they kind of got away from that, but now they're starting to get a little more back into it.
Yeah, they got I had you had metal shop and wood shop in my high school. And then right when I graduated, they cut it off and it was done.
Right,
And then I heard that they just came out with I think they're doing auto uh, mechanic shop again in one of the high
right,
schools that's local. So that was good to see. I think they
that's
should. They
good.
should have that.
Absolutely.
That's better than most of the stuff they're teaching these days in class. So
Gosh, Common Core math. Eat an apple and 2 oranges, and you can't come up with crab. Who knows, man? I'm sitting down with my boy a couple years ago, and I'm like, "What in the world is this?" I was like, "Oh, here's your answer right here." And he's like, "I can't do it that way." I was like, "Who cares?
yes,
It's done as long as it gets done." He's like, "I can't do it that way, Dad." I'm
yeah.
like,
Our daughter came home with math work and she was doing it was something with fractions and she was like, if I take this to this, how do I do this? And I was like, tape measure, check it out. Pull tape measure out. I was like, look, here's this, this, and that. And she's like, I was like, that's your answer. And she goes, but I can't do that. But that's the answer. You just did, you solved it. Well, no, I have to show this, and it's like a paragraph like that big.
Overcomplicate stuff.
No, it's crazy. So, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
So,
Are you going to continue this journey?
yeah, well, I'm my right shoulder now. I had surgery on my left and my right shoulder. I dislocated it twice, and it's starting to really give me problems. And one of the guys that brought me up, he went into supervision. Super good lineman, super good dude. And I thought I'd never see him go into supervision, And I've been talking to my wife, maybe in the next year or two, if an opportunity pops up, probably go that direction. You're still hands-on with the guys, right? You go out and inspect jobs, you go out and watch them work, you make sure they have everything they need. It's just a little more less labor.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've cracked my sternum, broken ribs, broke my ankle, dislocated both shoulders, hurt my back, all that doing riding bulls and fighting bulls, and it's starting to catch up with me. I turned 44 this year, and I'm feeling it. I still get up and drink a Red Bull and pop some Advil, but we're still trucking along.
Yeah, it's body can only take so much.
Right.
That's
but I'll stay in this industry. I won't go anywhere. I plan on retiring from this company in this industry. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Unless I get viral on TikTok and become a creator, which that ain't never gonna happen. So like I'll be retiring from Tico.
Oh. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on and talking about everything you do.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. When I got the message, I'm like, what? I ain't never nobody, and I'm talking to my wife and I was like, should I do it? And she's like, yeah, why not? And I was like, well, hell, I'm just little old Donnie out here in Plant City, Florida. I'm like, I was like, well, I'll give it a go. And she's like, well, let me know how it goes. And I'm like, I'm glad I accepted it, man. This was enjoyable for sure.
That's what we wanted to do was we want to be a huge podcast one day and grow this as big as we can get it, but we want the most genuine, real blue collar men and women that are out there right now working their ass off to share their story, how they got to where they are, everything about them, because I think the world should hear what it is to be blue collar, how it affects your family. You said 16-hour days.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand what a 16-hour day is and what it takes to put that 16-hour day in and then get up and do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, and we have so I don't know about other utilities, but we have a 24-hour clause. So you were talking earlier about the storms that roll in at 3:00. We get off at 3:30, but if they hold a crew, we can work till 7:00 the next morning, but we can't work past that. And sometimes when these storms pop up, they do a lot of damage, and we'll work, that 24-hour shift, and it's a lot. And now that my kids are older, it's not near as bad, but when they were babies, I was working quite a bit, because I wasn't making as much money as I am now. And, it took a toll on my wife a little bit when the little ones were little. I would work. And then she told me one day, she's like, she never tells me no, but we were talking one day and she's like, hopefully when you make Journeyman, you won't have to do this as much. And I'm like, well, we'll see what happens. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, unless you do it, you don't understand it. But to have a family, it takes a lot because you miss your kids growing up. You miss their first steps. You miss their baseball games, basketball games, anything to do with school. You miss all that. I didn't get to go to my daughter's any of her stuff until this happened to me where I'm not at work and it was like, hey, I get to go to her school play today.
Right.
But working them jobs, you gotta sacrifice a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth it in the end, though, as long as they're taken care of and your family's taken care of. That's what it's all about.
That's right.
So,
man, I appreciate you coming on. It was a blast talking to you.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, man. I sure do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to hearing from y'all and making sure everything goes good with you and your family for sure.
Yeah. So everybody that's watching this, make sure you tune in to watch. Well, you guys are already watching Donnie's post. But make sure if you like it, you like the post, you like the video, you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys keep tuning in to check out more amazing people we have coming on. And Donnie, once again, I appreciate you coming on here. I can't thank you enough. It was an honor to have you on. And
My
be
pleasure.
safe out there, man. Please be
Always.
safe.
Always.
All right. We'll talk to you.
Yes, sir. Take it easy.